Welcome to Erie Trail, where forgotten roads, haunted silence, and long shadows tell stories no one else dares to remember. If you're drawn to the strange, the lost, and the unsettling, you're in the right place. Like the video, drop your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe for more stories that don't just scare, they stay with you. A storm was stirring in the Texas sky the night Eli drew the short straw. He'd been working delivery at Big Pete's Barbecue Shack in Hollow Creek for barely 2 weeks, mostly running ribs and pulled pork sandwiches to locals too drunk or lazy to swing by the old converted gas station out on Highway 281. Hollow Creek wasn't even a town, really just a cluster of decaying trailers, a cemetery half swallowed by mesquite, and 2 churches that took turns burning out pastors. The population fluctuated with the season, mostly oil field workers, meth ghosts, and the dying. Eli didn't care about any of that. He just needed the money to fix the transmission on his Honda Civic and get the hell out. San Antonio, maybe. Austin, if he could land a second job. Anywhere but here. It was close to midnight when the order came in. The storm had broken open over the plains in a biblical tantrum, wind howling, lightning shredding the sky like angry fingers. The kind of storm that made dogs crawl under beds and old-timers sip whiskey in silence. Nobody should have been ordering food. Pete had already started closing up, half the lights off, the kitchen cooling, when the phone buzzed. Someone wants a delivery. Pete's voice was low, gruff. He scratched his neck like it itched something deep under the skin. Outside town. Eli looked up from mopping near the register. Outside where? Pete squinted at the ticket. Off Farm Road 674, near Old Rusk. Eli's stomach tightened. Isn't that where the Divine Farm used to be? Asked Marcy, the fry cook, without looking up from her crossword. Yep, Pete muttered. But it's a little past that. Says Barlow Ranch. He looked up at Eli. You know it? Eli didn't, but he didn't like the way Pete was eyeing him, like something more than barbecue was being handed over. Storm's picking up, Eli offered. Roads might flood. Pete just slid the brown paper bag over the counter. $50 tip. That shut him up. Eli wrapped his jacket tight, tucked the bag under his arm, and stepped into the night. The Civic bucked like a pissed horse when he turned the key, but it started. He pulled onto 281 and turned east toward the darker part of the county. The kind of dark where the trees leaned over the road like they were watching. The kind of dark that chewed up headlights. FM 674 was a strip of broken asphalt that looked like it hadn't seen maintenance since Reagan. It curved and twisted through dry creek beds and fences lined with cattle skulls, through pockets of brush and half-collapsed barns. His GPS blinked out half a mile in. Figures. The radio started hissing, not static. Not music. Breathing. Long. Low, wet inhalations. He clicked it off. Silence returned, heavier than before. He drove on. The Barlow place wasn't marked. He passed it once without realizing, had to backtrack to a rusted gate with a cow skull nailed dead center. The driveway was barely that, a rutted path overgrown with sticker grass and devil's claw. The Civic groaned the whole way, bottoming out twice before the house came into view. It sat hunched in the field like a broken spine. 2 stories of gray wood and sagging porches. One window lit, flickering amber, like it was running on candlelight. No cars. No signs of life. But the porch light snapped on as he approached. Eli got out slowly. The wind screamed through the open fields, dragging the smell of sulfur and old hay. He walked up the steps, careful not to trip on the warped boards. The air felt wrong, heavy and wet, like it came from underground. He knocked. No answer. He knocked again. Still nothing. The door creaked open, not wide. Just enough for someone inside to be watching. Delivery for Barlow? No answer. He held up the bag. Pulled pork, corn fritters, peach cobbler, $50 tip. The door creaked a little wider, and the smell hit him. Not food, rot, like meat left out too long. Like something that died behind the walls. I'm just gonna leave this here. He set the bag on the floor and turned. Boy. The voice stopped him cold. It was old. Dry. Like wind scraping bone. It didn't come from any direction, just filled the space around him, inside him. You brought it? Eli turned. The hallway. Beyond the door was dark. No movement. No figure. Just shadows. Yeah. Food's right here. Something shuffled deep inside. Wood creaked. A whisper of fabric. He stepped backward. The porch light went out, and the door slammed shut. Eli ran. Tripped down the steps, landed hard in the gravel. He didn't care. He crawled to the Civic, fumbled with the keys, and peeled out in reverse. Weeds slapping the sides of the car like hands. He didn't look back. Didn't stop until he hit the first street light on the edge of Hollow Creek. Back at Big Pete's, the building was dark, closed, locked. He banged on the door anyway. No answer. He sat in the car until sunrise, not trusting the night to let go of him. The next day, Pete didn't show up. Neither did Marcy. By Friday, Big Pete's BBQ Shack had a for-lease sign nailed to the front. No one answered the number listed online. The place looked like it hadn't been touched in weeks. But Eli knew he knew. He was there 3 nights ago. The food bag was still in his car. He hadn't noticed it until he went to clean out the back seat. It was lying there, untouched, neat, no grease marks, no crumpling. He hadn't brought it back. He was sure. He opened it. Inside was raw meat. Still wet, still warm. He threw it out behind the trailer park and tried to forget. Didn't work. The dreams started next. The house, the door, the voice. Always. You brought it. Sometimes he saw the thing that belonged to the voice, thin, stretched, naked, but not human. Pale skin pulled taut over bones too long for a man. No eyes, just teeth. So many teeth. It was waiting. One morning, he woke to find the cow skull from the Barlow gate tied to his hood with rusted wire. No one saw who did it. No fingerprints. The police didn't care. Probably some kids, the deputy said. Dumb prank. He quit his job, packed what he could, left town. Didn't matter. Wherever he went, someone placed an order. Always in his name, always late at night, always a remote address on the edge of a forgotten town. He stopped checking his phone. Stopped answering the door, but they still found him, and the voice keeps whispering, "You brought it. Now you feed it." The only reason Jaden took the delivery job was because it kept him out of the trailer. The old double wide he shared with his mother and her third husband reeked of cigarette ash, hot beer, and whatever nameless mold had taken up residence in the bathroom wall. His stepfather, Troy, had a talent for drinking and hitting things, whichever was closest. Jaden was smart enough to keep distance, but not lucky enough to escape Hollow Creek just yet. He delivered food out of a place called Lucille's Cajun Kitchen, run by a woman who'd lost 3 fingers in a fryer accident and didn't trust computers. Everything was done on paper, handwritten tickets, cash only, orders scrawled in looping cursive like some kind of voodoo spell. Jaden didn't mind the heat, didn't mind the grease. What he did mind was the back roads. Lucille had a loyal customer base, and a lot of them lived way out in the scrubby parts of rural Texas, miles beyond paved roads, down trails that weren't even on the GPS, the kind of areas that felt too quiet, too still, like the land was holding its breath. Places where old trees leaned in close and cell service vanished like it was scared. That Sunday was a scorcher. August had bled into September without dropping a degree. Jaden had already done 4 deliveries by 9 p.m., and his T-shirt was soaked through. He was hoping to call it a night when Lucille handed him a slip of paper and a paper bag dripping. With gumbo juice. Don't open it, she said, not looking up from the register. Just drop it off. Cash is taped under the lid. Jaden glanced at the address. No street number. Just High Hollow Road, Lot 6. I didn't know there were houses out that far, he said. Lucille shrugged. There ain't, not anymore. He waited for more, but she just waved him off like a mosquito dot. He loaded the bag into the passenger seat of his rust-bitten Dodge Neon and drove east. High Hollow wasn't a road so much as a scar carved through dry brush and juniper trees. The land got strange out there. The moonlight felt dimmer. The wind moved the trees but not the air. He passed a burned-out church, a twisted playground swallowed by weeds, and a well covered in rebar like someone was scared of what might crawl out. The lot markers were old license plates nailed to fence posts. Lot 1, Lot 2, Lot 3. He found Lot 6 between a collapsed barn and an empty cattle trough. There was a trailer there, barely standing, its aluminum sides streaked with rust, windows blacked out with garbage bags. The front porch was crooked, the door hanging slightly open. No lights. Jaden cut the engine. The silence was thick. Not even bugs. He grabbed the bag, made his way up the groaning steps, and knocked. No answer. Lucille's, he called out, voice cracking. Got your order, gumbo, hush puppies, fried okra. Cash is all ready. The door opened. No one had touched it. No creak, no click. Just open. Hello? He stepped inside. The air was suffocating, heavy with a sweetness that wasn't right, like syrup poured over rot. It clung to his skin, thick and wet. The living room was empty. Furniture covered in yellowing sheets. A TV from the 80s stacked on a milk crate. A glass ashtray full of something black and wet. Jaden set the bag on the nearest surface and turned to leave. Then he heard it. A voice. Childlike. Whispering. From the hallway. Bring it back. Jaden froze. Another whisper, clearer now. Right behind him. You have to bring it back. He turned, fast, hard jackhammering. Nothing. Just shadows that twitched when they shouldn't. He bolted out the door, down the steps, and into his car, not caring that he scraped the oil pan when he tore back onto the main road. He didn't stop until he saw the familiar neon glow of the gas station on 281. He didn't go back to Lucille's that night. Didn't sleep either. The next morning, the bag was back in the passenger seat. Same one. Still warm. He stared at it for a full minute before grabbing it and chucking it into a roadside dumpster behind the gas station. He quit the job. Blocked Lucille's number. Ignored her voicemail. But 2 nights later, he woke to a knock at the door. No one should have known where he lived. His mother was passed out. Troy was gone, maybe in jail, maybe just gone. He opened the door. The food bag was on the porch, still. Warm. There was something inside it now. Something moving. He didn't open it. Just closed the door, locked it, slid a chair under the knob. But it didn't stop. Every 2 or 3 nights, the bag would show up. Sometimes on the porch, sometimes inside his car. Once it was on his bed when he woke up. The smell got worse each time, sweet and wet and wrong. Something would always be moving inside, sloshing, breathing. He tried burning it. He tried burying it. He drove 30 miles out to the river and threw it in. Didn't matter. It came back. Always warm. Always. Whispering. You have to bring it back. He started seeing things at the edge of his vision, small figures, child-sized, pale and hairless, crouched in ditches, staring. Sometimes they followed him in the rearview mirror. Sometimes they left handprints on the fogged-up windows. He stopped. Sleeping. Stopped eating. Troy disappeared. The trailer was quiet, but Jaden couldn't enjoy it. Lucille's was closed now. A black X spray painted over the front door. No one in town remembered her. The gumbo bag waits now, day and night. He hears them under the floorboards. Scratching. Chittering. Waiting. Beginning to understand that the bag isn't a meal. It's a trap, and he was never the delivery boy. He was the order. Jalen Reed wasn't supposed to be working that night. It was a Thursday in late October, and he'd already put in his hours at Ranchero Pizza out by the interstate, the only place in Belmire, Texas, that still stayed open past 10. He was just about to clock out when his manager, Cheryl, came out of the back looking pale and tight-lipped, her greasy bangs plastered to her forehead. "Got a call in from the edge of town," she said. "And you're the only driver left," Jalen frowned. "Can't they pick it up?" "Old man," she muttered. "Said he couldn't leave his house. Real insistent. Paid over the phone. Cash tip waiting at the door. Where's it going?" She handed him the receipt. Jalen's stomach turned. "Willett Ranch." "Nah," he said, trying to hand it back. "That place has been empty since the fire." "Yeah, well, somebody's there now," Cheryl snapped. "Unless you want to explain to the owner why we're refunding a $100 order." That shut him up. He'd already been written up twice. One more strike and he'd be back washing dishes at the Roach Hotel off Route 7. So he loaded the 2 steaming pizzas, wings, and garlic knots into the thermal bag and got in his beat-up Toyota Corolla, which coughed and wheezed but still held together out of stubborn pride. The night air was thick and strange. Windless, but the trees swayed as if moved by something heavier than breeze. A smear of clouds rolled across the moon, like someone dragging bloody fingers across glass. The Willett place sat about 8 miles west of Belmire, down a side road that turned to gravel and then to dirt, skirting along a dried-out lake bed that hadn't held water in decades. Everyone in town knew the story. Back in the 90s, the house caught fire during some kind of weird ritual, or drug-fueled party, depending who you asked. 5 people died. Some weren't found at all. Jayle and didn't buy into ghost stories, but he didn't like that road. As he drove, he noticed something strange. The further he got, the quieter it became. No cicadas, no crickets, no frogs. Just the hum of his tires on gravel and the whisper of something faint behind him, like a second breath layered over his own. He reached the ranch just before midnight. The gate was wide open. The sign, once proudly painted with Willett Inn, faded red, hung crooked on one hinge. He should have turned around, but the gravel crunched beneath his wheels as he rolled up the long, winding driveway. The house came into view and his hands tightened on the wheel. It looked like it had been rebuilt. Sort of. Some parts still bore black char streaks, especially around the windows, and the upper floor sagged like a spine that never healed right. But the porch light was on, bright yellow, flickering slightly. There was something strange about the light. It didn't cast shadows. He parked and got out. The moment his foot hit the ground, he felt a pressure in the air like a storm was coiled above him, waiting to snap. He walked up the steps. The wood felt damp, even though it hadn't rained in days. The front door creaked open before he touched it. Jalen froze. "Hello? Ranchero Pizza." No response. He glanced down. There, just inside the doorway, was a small table. On it, a jar stuffed with cash, and a note written in thick, childlike letters. "Leave it in the kitchen. Don't go past the mirror." He stepped inside. The air smelled of wet dirt and old flowers. The house was quiet. The kind of quiet that hurts your ears. The kind of quiet that listens. Jalen set the thermal bag on the table, but curiosity got the better of him. He'd come this far. One peek at the kitchen wouldn't hurt. The hallway was narrow, lined with old photos, black and white portraits of unsmiling men, women with sunken eyes, and children standing too far from the camera. Their eyes seemed wrong. Like they were caught mid-blink. Or mid-scream. He looked away. The kitchen door was ajar. He pushed it open. Inside, everything was too clean. The countertops were white and smooth, the floor freshly waxed. But there were no appliances, no fridge, no stove. Just a table in the center. And on that table, 3 plates. Each one had a knife and fork. Each one had a name written in dark red cursive on the rim. Eugene, Lila. Gray. Jayle, and backed up. Something creaked above him. The second floor. He wasn't alone. He turned to leave and caught sight of the mirror. It wasn't just a regular mirror. It was massive, nearly floor to ceiling, framed in black, carved wood that writhed with symbols he didn't recognize. And in the reflection, there were people behind him, 3 of them, sitting at the table, pale, stiff, dead-eyed. Eating the food he just delivered. Jalen spun around. The room was empty. But when he looked again, the plates were smeared with grease, and one slice was missing. His own name was now written on a 4th plate at the end of the table. Jalen. He ran down the hall, through the door, but the house wouldn't let him go. The hallway stretched. The light flickered. He turned corners that hadn't been there before. He passed the same crooked photo. Again and again. Until he came back to the kitchen and the table. Now, 4 figures sat there. The mirror showed them clearly. 3 old corpses, and him, pale, wide-eyed, frozen in a silent scream. He watched as he picked up the fork, as he cut into the pizza, as he chewed and swallowed. Knock came from the front door. Jalen's reflection turned toward it, picked up the thermal bag, walked to answer it. He screamed, but no sound came. The mirror rippled. A hand reached out, pale, cold, gripped his wrist. Pulled. The next day, Cheryl found his car still parked in the driveway. Engine off, door ajar. No sign of Jayle. But on the porch sat a pizza bag. Empty. Still warm. He was 20 minutes past closing when the call came in. Nico had already cleaned the fryer, emptied the soda machine, and clocked out. He was halfway through a smoke in the back lot of Lago Chicken when Cynthia, the night shift manager, poked her head through the door and said, "Hey, one last one. Cash tip. Way out near the lake." Nico sighed. "Lake's a 30-minute round trip." He tipped 50. Nico flicked a cigarette, watched it arc into the dark. "What's the address?" She handed him the ticket. It was scribbled in grease pencil across a yellow pad. Red Hollow Road, turn left at mile marker 19. White trailer past the split Okino number. No name. Cynthia shrugged. He asked for the extra crispy. "Said you've delivered to him before." "I haven't." She raised a brow. "Well, he sure as hell knew your name." Nico didn't like that. But he was behind on rent, and $50 was $50. He grabbed the paper bag, 2 boxes of chicken, mashed potatoes, coleslaw, and tossed it into the passenger seat of his dented black Camry. The night air was heavy with humidity, the kind that makes everything feel slower. Thicker. As he pulled out of the lot, the sign for Lago Chicken buzzed and dimmed. The light over the O flickered, then went out entirely. Red Hollow Road didn't exist on GPS, but Nico had lived in Eden Vale long enough to know the way. It snaked off FM 2498, somewhere near the outskirts of Lake Salathoa. Bloated brown lake surrounded by abandoned fishing cabins and long-dead bait shops. Locals said the lake was cursed, not haunted exactly, just off. People went missing out there. Dogs wouldn't swim in it. The fish had milky eyes and split bellies. In the summer, the water grew so still you couldn't tell where the weeds ended and the surface began. A child drowned there 10 years ago. Never found. He passed mile marker 19. Turned left. The road narrowed, overgrown with mesquite and salt cedar. The Camry rattled over the washboarded dirt, headlights punching through dense brush. Crickets fell silent the deeper he went. he spotted. The split oak half a mile in its trunk cracked wide open like a mouth mid-scream. Beyond it sat a white trailer, low, long, windows blacked out. Porch sagging like something had crawled up under it and never come out. No porch light, but he could feel eyes. He parked. The bag was warm in his hands. He stepped onto the porch, boots creaking against swollen wood. Delivery. He called. No answer. He knocked. Still nothing. He looked down. There, nailed to the door, was an envelope. His name was written on it. In perfect block letters. Nico. He opened it. Inside, 2 $50 bills. And a note scrawled in the same tight handwriting. Leave it inside. Shut the door behind you. No matter what you hear, do not open it again. Chills slithered up his spine. He could leave, but he didn't single quotes T. Something about the handwriting. It was neat, careful. The kind that belongs to someone desperate not to be misunderstood. He pushed the door. It opened. The smell hit him first. Warm rot, dust, and the unmistakable copper tang of blood. The trailer was dark except for a single bulb dangling from the ceiling above a bare table. He stepped inside. The walls were yellowed, the carpet damp beneath his boots. The table sat in the center of the living room, flanked by 2 mismatched chairs. On one chair, an old man, slumped, still. Dead. Nico froze. The man's skin was the color of wax. His mouth hung open. His eyes were gone, just empty, sunken sockets. The shape of his face was off, like something had worn it too long and it had started to slip. Beside him, neatly laid out, was a paper plate and a fork. Nico backed up, but before he could reach the door, something knocked from the other side. Not loud. Just once, he froze. Old man's body jerked, not fully, just the head. Twitched sideways, like it was listening. Nico didn't breathe. Then the knocking came again. Twice. And a voice, muffled. Open it, please. He's not done eating. Nico shook his head. No way. The bulb above flickered. The dead man opened his mouth wider. From inside his throat. Something moved. Please open the door. The voice whispered again, closer now, like it was pressing its mouth to the wood. The bulb popped. Darkness swallowed the trailer. Nico turned to run, slammed into the table, fell hard. Chicken spilled across the carpet. The body tipped forward, mouth grazing the floor. Empty eye sockets pointed straight at him. Then came the scratching. Not from the door. From inside the walls. Tiny, desperate claws, something small, dozens of them. Wallpaper bulged, peeled, tore. Pale, hairless hands slipped out, child-sized, bone-thin. They skittered across the floor. Toward the spilled food. Nico scrambled back. The front door began to rattle. Not knock, not tap, slam. Over and over, a voice screamed, "Feed him." The hands grabbed the chicken, dragged it toward the dead man's gaping mouth. The body swallowed, twitched, moaned. The hands turned to Nico. He ran, tripped through the hallway, kicked through a door into the bathroom, locked it behind him. He waited there. For hours, maybe days. The scratching never stopped. The whispering got louder. By the time the sheriff's deputies found him, he was curled in the bathtub, eyes wide, lips moving in silence. They never found the old man's body, just grease stains. And bones. Trailer burned to the ground 2 nights later. Locals said it was lightning, dry storm. No rain, but Nico knows better. He never went back to work. He doesn't eat fried chicken anymore. And every now and then, late at night, there's a knock on his apartment door. Not loud. Just once, then a voice. Please open it. He's still hungry. It started with a call to the wrong address. Or at least, that's what Diego told himself the first time he delivered to 113 Wexler Lane. It was a slow Tuesday in October, and he just pulled the closing shift at Rosita's Grill, a tiny Tex-Mex place nestled between an abandoned Jiffy Lube and a vape shop. It always seemed to be closed but never out of business. Diego was 22, had no ambitions, and drove a gray Nissan Altima that smelled like stale tortillas and Dr. Pepper. At 10:47 p.m., the ticket printed. No name, just an address. 113 Wexler Lane. He stared at it a moment. The system didn't usually accept late-night deliveries without pre-approval. And Wexler Lane was ... The peculiar ... half the street had been condemned after the refinery leak back in '98. People still talked about the fires, how smoke billowed without wind, how the trees shriveled from the top down. Most of the houses had been bulldozed. What remained was a row of empty lots, cracked driveways, and a single power line leaning like it was giving up. He almost canceled the run, but the ticket was marked prepaid, and the tip? $100. It was just one combo plate. Beef enchiladas, rice, beans, no drink, no salsa, no napkins. Oddly specific. Oddly plain. He packed it up and drove. Wexler Lane sat on the far edge of South Bastrop, where streetlights got lazy and the roads dipped and cracked like they were rotting from underneath. The farther he got, the more everything around him seemed drained, colorless, deadened. Even the sky was darker here, like the stars themselves avoided looking down. He turned onto Wexler, past. Empty lot after empty lot. Grass grown waist high. Concrete shattered and curling like burnt paper. Then he saw it. House. Small. Single story. Somehow untouched by time. Porch light glowing pale orange. A rusted wind chime swaying though there was no wind. He pulled into the driveway, heart thudding. For no good reason. Got out. The grass didn't crunch under his shoes. It just bent like it didn't want to be heard. He walked up the porch. Knocked once. The door opened immediately. A man stood there. Tall. Thin. Shirtless despite the cold. His skin an unhealthy gray that looked powdered with ash. His eyes were blue. Not just blue electric. The kind of color that hurts to look at. You're late, the man said. Diego blinked. The ticket came in 10 minutes ago. The man didn't respond. Just held out his hand. Diego gave him the bag. That'll be well. It's all ready. The man closed the door before he could finish. Diego stood there a moment, unsure what to feel. Annoyed? Creeped out? He turned to go and saw someone standing in the yard. Not close. Far enough that Diego couldn't make out features. Just a silhouette. Still. Facing him. He blinked. And it was gone. He drove home in silence. Didn't mention it to anyone. Asterisk. The next night, it happened again. Same order. Same address. Same $100 tip. He told Cheryl it was a prank. She shrugged. Money's money. He drove. Same house. Same light. Same strange quiet. This time, when he knocked, the man wasn't alone. A woman stood beside him, pale, hair hanging over her face. Her mouth moved but made no sound. Diego handed over the food and walked away without waiting. The yard was full of silhouettes this time. Watching. Still. He kept his eyes down and drove faster. Asterisk. It became a routine. Every night at 10:47. The order printed. Same food. Same name. F. Latham. Diego stopped questioning it. Until the sixth night. This time. The door was already open. Come in, the man said. His voice, WSN single quotes T. Right, it echoed. Too deep, like someone speaking through an empty tank. I don't go inside customers. Holmes, you're not a guest. I'm just the delivery guy. The man smiled. His teeth were too many. Exactly. Something moved behind the man. Not a person, not an animal. Its skittered limbs too long, too fast. Diego turned and ran behind him. The man whispered, soon. Asterisk asterisk the next day, he called out sick, but the ticket still printed. Cheryl texted him at midnight. You didn't do the Wexler delivery. Food came back. He checked his porch. The Rosita's bag was there. Still warm. Still full. Only now. The beans were gone, and the box was wet inside. He threw it in the trash and didn't sleep. That night. Someone knocked at 10:47. He didn't answer. The next day, there were footprints in the carpet. Bare feet, charred at the edges, leading from the front door to his bedroom and back again. He quit the job, blocked the restaurant, moved in with his cousin on the east side of Austin, but the food followed. Every few nights, it would appear on the stoop. In his car, on his bed. The enchiladas now oozed a black sludge. The rice crawled. The beans whispered. He stopped eating altogether, and still they came. Asterisk asterisk eventually, he tried to go back. To end it. He drove to Wexler. The street was gone, not empty, gone. No lots, no cracked road. Just thick trees. No sign it had ever existed. He sat in the car, stunned, until a voice spoke from the back seat. You're late. He turned, screaming, but there was nothing there. Just a delivery bag. On the seat beside him. Still warm. Still full. He'd only been in Harlow for 3 weeks when the call came. Travis Darnell had never intended to stay long in Texas. He was 28, freshly single, and too tired of Austin's sky-high rent to care where he landed next. Harlow was just a pin on a map, a dusty crossroads town between Houston and nowhere, with one gas station, 2 bars, and a Mexican restaurant that doubled as a pizza joint depending on the day. The town had a Walmart, so he figured it was civilized enough. He got the job with Hot Plate Express on a whim. App-based food delivery, minimal human interaction. Paid under the table by the restaurant owners too old to understand digital tipping. Travis delivered everything from barbecue to burrito, crisscrossing the same 5 roads 10 hours a day. He knew the town well enough now to feel its rhythm. Slow, lazy, dusty. But on the 6th of November, things changed. At 11:12 p.m., just as he was wrapping up and heading back to the Shell station where he parked for the night, his phone buzzed. One last order. The address wasn't familiar. 98 Harrow Road. He frowned. Harrow didn't exist on the GPS. He clicked for the map view. Nothing. No pin. No road. Just a gray stretch beyond the eastern fields where wheat turned into woods and the signal always dropped. Still, the order was prepaid and the note was handwritten. Delivered to back door. Do not knock. Do not speak. $150 in the mailbox. Travis hesitated. He'd learned not to ask questions in towns like Harlow. And his gas tank was nearly empty. He accepted the order. Asterisk asterisk. The eastern edge of Harlow was worse than he remembered. Empty roads with no signage. Just loose gravel and the occasional weather-beaten cattle gate. His phone dropped signal after the first turn. The only reason he knew he was headed in the right direction was the smell. Rotten sweetgrass, damp wood, mold, and diesel. A sick scent that clung to the air like spoiled perfume. He saw the mailbox first. Crooked, dented, painted black. No numbers, no flag, but on the side, written in marker, were 3 words. Don't look, bees. Travis pulled over. Heart. Tapping faster than it should have. He grabbed the bag, a family-sized tray of lasagna from Mama Lupe's, and stepped into the dark. The house was barely visible through the trees. It was tall. Too tall for this part of Texas. 3 stories of sloped roofs and dead ivy. All the windows were blacked out. Boards nailed in from the inside. There were claw marks on the front door, deep gouges that cut through wood into something darker. Beneath, he didn't knock. He made his way to the back. Each step felt harder than the last, like the air thickened around him. Sound seemed muffled, no insects, no wind. Only the soft crunch of gravel and the creak of ancient branches. The back door was open, a crack, just enough for him to see a sliver of inside. It was ... wrong. The floor beyond the door wasn't wood or tile. It was earth, actual dirt, damp and uneven. And in the middle of that dirt, he saw feet. Bare. Stained with something black. Travis backed up. Then a voice came from inside, low, croaking. Put it on the table. He froze. There was no table. Just dirt and those unmoving feet. I said. The voice repeated, closer now. Put it on the table. Travis turned and bolted, ran through the weeds, past the mailbox, slammed into his car. The engine struggled, coughed. He didn't look up until he hit pavement again. Halfway back into town. The money was waiting for him the next day. He didn't go back. Someone else could take that route, but every night after, the orders kept coming. Same house. Different food. Always around midnight. Always prepaid. And always accompanied by a note. The smell is getting stronger. He likes you now. Don't let the others see you leave. By the third week, the food stopped being from local restaurants. He delivered raw meat, bowls of milk, small bundles of feathers and salt. One night it was a rabbit. Still alive, its eyes sewn shut. He tried quitting the app. Deleted it. Got a job at the hardware store instead. Didn't matter. At exactly 12:11 a.m., he'd find a bag on his porch. Still warm. Still addressed to 98 Harrow Road. And if he didn't deliver it, things started happening. First, the flies. Thousands of them. In his sink, his sheets, his ears. Then came the knocking. Not on the door. From inside the walls. Soft, rhythmic taps. Like something counting. He taped every vent shut. Slept with the lights on. Didn't help. One night he woke up with something heavy on his chest. He couldn't move. Couldn't breathe. A hand brushed his face, and a voice whispered in his ear, "You forgot the milk." The next morning, he drove back to Harrow Road. It was waiting. A new order in the back seat. No memory of how it got there. He delivered it. Didn't look inside. Didn't ask questions. And for a while things went quiet. But now, every town he moves to, there's a Harrow Road. Always at the edge of the map. Always unlisted. And the deliveries follow. No matter how far he drives. No matter how many names he changes. He knows he's not delivering food anymore. He's feeding something older, something beneath, and one day it'll be hungry enough to want more than meals. It was the Tuesday after Labor Day when Ray took the job delivering food for Yellow Cactus Taqueria, and it was already 104 degrees by the time he started his shift. Ray had been living out of his truck for 3 months, camping in the gravel lot behind the Exxon in Dry Creek, a ghost town turned oil boomtown 30 miles west of San Angelo. The place was baked dry, cracked open, and half forgotten, with a main strip that hadn't seen new paint since the Reagan administration. But the money was decent, and the owners of Yellow Cactus didn't ask many questions. They needed drivers. Ray needed cash. The deliveries were mostly the same. Enchilada plates to frac rig offices, tacos to motel rooms, the occasional burrito to some sunburned crew boss drinking tall boys behind a busted fence. But every now and then, something odd would come through, like the order that came in at 9:42 p.m. on a Wednesday, just after closing. One item, barbacoa deluxe platter with extra lime. No drinks, no chips, no salsa. The name on the receipt, J. Madera. The address was a string of coordinates, not a street, just latitude and longitude. Ray squinted at it. This has to be a joke. The kid on the register, Angel, a twitchy teenager with a burn scar on his jaw, looked over the order and went pale. That's way out past the power station. So? Angel chewed his lip. That road doesn't go anywhere anymore. Washed out last year. Flash flood. Nobody lives out there. Ray raised a brow. Someone ordered food. Angel just looked at him. People talk about that place. Something under the ground. Ray laughed it off. You want the tip or not? The ticket said $75 cash on delivery. Ray packed the food, checked the oil in his truck, and drove. Asterisk, asterisk, he hit the coordinates about 30 minutes later. The asphalt crumbled beneath his tires, giving way to hardpan and rust-colored dust. No street lamps. Just mesquite trees twisted like they were writhing toward the sky, and fence posts so old they'd been swallowed by the earth. He passed a sign, half buried. That read, Restricted Zone County Use O&L. The air got thick the farther he drove. The smell changed sweet, but wrong, like meat left out in the sun. And underneath it, a metallic tang that clung to his tongue. His phone lost service. The radio cut to static. Then he saw it. A trailer, aluminum, sagging, no windows. One crooked porch light that flickered like it was dying. Ray parked. Got out. Wasn't sure why he turned off his headlights. He just did. Some part of him didn't want to be seen. He approached the door, food in hand. The screen creaked under his boots. Delivery, he said. Knocking. No answer. He knocked again. Still nothing. But he heard something inside. Not. Footsteps. Breathing. Wet. Labored. Gurgling like lungs full of fluid. Then the door creaked open. Not. All the way. Just enough for Ray to see a hand. It wasn't right. The skin was bloated. Gray. Almost translucent. The fingers were long, too long, and the nails had gone black at the edges. The hand reached out. Not for the food. For him. Ray stumbled back. The hand stopped at the threshold, quivered, then curled back inside. A voice followed, soft, childlike. Leave it, please. Ray dropped the bag on the porch and turned. Started for the truck. Then the voice spoke again. You brought lime? Yes? He didn't answer. Didn't look back. The porch light buzzed louder behind him. Then came the scratching. Not from the door. From underneath the trailer, dozens of tiny claws against metal. Ray floored it out of there, heart in his throat. The barbacoa still steaming behind him on the porch. Asterisk, asterisk, he didn't go back the next night. But the order did. Same time. Same coordinates. Same request. Extra lime. And this time, the note said, please, we're hungry. They're getting louder. Ray didn't respond. By Friday, the call came from the manager himself. One of the owners, an old man named Arturo, who always wore snakeskin boots and carried a pistol he never used. You're the only one who'll deliver there, Arturo said. Ray blinked. What do you mean? Arturo didn't answer, just handed him the bag and a tin of lime wedges. Asterisk, asterisk, that night, the trailer door was wide open. No lights, no voices, but the food was gone by the time he stepped onto the porch. In its place was a wad of cash, soaked through with something that smelled like brine and old copper, and a photo, black and white, of a boy, wearing Ray's shirt, standing in front of the trailer, mouth open, eyes missing. Ray dropped the photo, drove home, didn't sleep. Asterisk, asterisk, the dream started a week later. He'd wake to find the smell of barbacoa in his truck. Here, chewing under the floorboards. Feel weight on his chest at night, cold, slick weight, as if something climbed up out of the earth to watch him sleep. The roads around Dry Creek shifted. Signs pointed toward places that weren't on any map. The gas pumps blinked random numbers, and always at 9:42 p.m., the app pinged with the same coordinates. Ray doesn't deliver anymore, but the food keeps showing up in his cab. Still warm. Still full. And sometimes, when he drives past the old well at the edge of town, he hears whispering. From the dark, Voices gurgling with water. Asking about lime. Asking about him. Raymond Ortiz had only been dead for 6 minutes when the app on his phone lit up again. The screen still clutched in his broken hand. A blood-smeared thumbprint smudged across the words. New delivery request, $80 tip, accept? But Raymond couldn't accept. His head was twisted at the wrong angle, mouth wide open in a silent scream, and his Chevy Cruze sat sideways in a ditch outside of Barrow County, Texas, headlights flickering, taillights blinking in the slow, stupid rhythm of hazard lights. Nobody noticed the body for hours, but the food was still hot, still sealed tight in the yellow plastic bag from Beto's Burritos, the #1 and only delivery partner for the FeedFast app in this dead-end corner of West Texas. And the app kept pinging. Every 10 minutes, like a METRONOME. Deliver to 192 Black Hollow Road. Note, back entrance. Knock 3 times. Do not ring the bell. Order 1 El Diablo burrito. No substitutions. Customer, Mrs. Hollow, ***. The order first appeared to Travis. A week later, Travis, no relation to the other story, just a common name for a common type of man, was new in town, having moved down from Oklahoma after a court order and a quiet agreement with family. He didn't like talking about the past, and the town didn't like asking. He worked for Beto's because he had a valid license, a clean enough record, and a pickup truck with good tires. His first few nights were uneventful. A few late night taco deliveries to oil field trailers, smothered nachos to a woman who never turned on her porch light, and one massive order for the sheriff's department that he never got tipped for. Then came the Black Hollow order. It was just after midnight. The app dinged. The restaurant was closed. The order had no listed origin. Still, the food was there, waiting in a warming bag inside his truck. He didn't put it there. Didn't even remember picking it up. But there it was, heavy and steaming and wrapped with a handwritten tag tied in. Red twine, for Mrs. Hollow. No substitutions. Travis sat there a long time, staring at the address. He'd heard about Black Hollow. Everyone in Barrow County had. It wasn't a town. It was a place. A dip in the land east of the highway, where trees grew too thick and water didn't pool right. Folks said compasses didn't work out there. No birds, no animals. Just old wind and older things. He almost tossed the burrito into the nearest dumpster and called it a prank, but something compelled him. He started the truck and drove east. ***. Black Hollow Road didn't show on GPS, but Travis followed the tree line, the road narrowing, branches clawing at the roof of his cab. The air got thick, still, like being underwater. Eventually, he saw it. A house. No lights. Wooden, lopsided. 2 stories tall with a third that looked like it shouldn't be there. A tower, maybe, with one circular window set like an eye in the dark. Travis parked. Grabbed the burrito. Approached the back door, just like the instructions said. There was a bell. Antique. Rusted. He didn't touch it. He knocked 3 times. Nothing happened at first. Then came the sound, like someone dragging cloth across glass. Then footsteps. Then dash click. The door opened. A crack. A voice floated through. Did you bring it hot? Travis froze. Yeah, El Diablo. No substitutions. The door opened wider. Inside was darkness. Not shadow darkness. It ate the porch light, swallowed the edges of Travis's vision. A pale hand reached out, thin, almost skeletal. Fingernails. Painted glossy black, chipped. It took the burrito. The hand paused, fingers brushing his. Cold. Too cold. Then came the whisper. He liked the last one. Send more. The door slammed. Travis turned and nearly tripped down the stairs. Got in the truck, drove blind until the woods thinned and the air
Warm. Asterisk asterisk he tried to forget, but the order returned the next night and the next. Sometimes there were. Notes: no onions this time. He says the meat tasted wrong. The last driver lasted 6 minutes. You're doing better. Travis didn't ask questions. Didn't want to know what happened to the meat. Didn't want to know who he was, but he started noticing things. The smell. Like burned sugar and rust. The birds. Gone. The sky. Always a shade too dark near the hollow. And then there were the eyes. At first just glints in the trees. Reflections. Maybe. Dear. But they blinked. Watched. Too high off the ground to be anything natural. Asterisk asterisk one night. Travis didn't deliver. He shut off his phone, drove out of town, crashed in the cab of his truck at a rest stop 2 counties over. Woke up at 3:03 a.m. with something on his chest. Not a weight, not a hand, just presence. Something breathing into his ear. You're late. He screamed. Fled. Drove back to Barrow County because he didn't know where else to go. The food was waiting for him in the truck. Still warm. Still sealed. This time there was blood on the napkins. Asterisk asterisk now Travis delivers every night. He doesn't speak to the woman in the tower. Doesn't linger on the porch. Just knocks 3 times. Hands over the food and leaves before the wind starts howling. Sometimes he hears chewing. Sometimes a child crying. And once, just once, he caught glimpse inside the house. What he saw wasn't a person. It was teeth. And fur. And eyes. Hundreds of eyes. All blinking in unison. All hungry. He slammed the door before it could speak, but he heard the voice anyway. Not in his ears. In his bones. Keep feeding me, or I eat you. So he feeds it every night. No substitutions. It was just past midnight when Eli Marino got the order that would ruin his life. He'd been delivering food in and around Three Pines, Texas for almost a year. The town was the kind of place where the churches outnumbered grocery stores, and the only nightlife happened under flickering neon signs in bars with broken jukeboxes. Folks mostly kept to themselves. People worked oil, worked dirt, or worked the highway. Eli did none of that. He drove for GrubGo, the newest in a long line of delivery apps promising big pay and flexible hours. He liked the solitude, didn't mind the miles. His beat-up Toyota Corolla had 2 good tires, a Bluetooth speaker wedged into the Q folder, and a passenger seat permanently stained by chili and queso. It wasn't glamorous, but it kept his parole officer off his back and gas in the tank. That night had been slow. The storm had knocked out power across the north side, and most places were closed. He was just about to head home when the app dinged with a priority alert. GrubGo priority order $200 cash tip delivery from La Katrina's Kakina Delivery. 2, 421 County Road 44B, Honey Hollow. Note: leave food on back step. Do not look through the window. Do not speak if spoken to. Customer: the Fenn family. Eli frowned. Honey Hollow was a forgotten stretch of brushland about 10 miles outside town. The kind of place with no paved roads and no cell phone reception. He'd only been there once before to help a cousin move a broken freezer, and the trees had felt wrong. Too tall. Too thin. Like ribs, he hesitated. The order was big. A family platter of tamales, arroz con palo, enchiladas, chips, churros, and it was prepaid, with a $200 cash tip on arrival, enough to refill his gas. And then some. Greed beat caution. He hit accept. Asterisk asterisk, the drive out to Honey Hollow took 40 minutes in the rain. The road narrowed to gravel, then to mud. As he drove deeper, the trees pressed in. Their trunks weren't right, split open in places like wounds, leaking black sap that smelled sweet and sour at once. His headlights barely cut through the fog. The Fenn house sat at the end of the road. Old Victorian style, warped wood. No lights, no porch bulb, just two tall windows that reflected nothing. The lawn was too short, like it had never grown. Eli left the car running. He grabbed the food, sloshed through the ankle-deep mud, and made his way to the back step. He didn't knock. He didn't look in the windows. He just crouched down and placed the food carefully by the door. As he turned to go, the wind shifted, and he heard it, a voice, whispering high, almost musical. "You brought enough for everyone?" Eli froze. He didn't answer. He remembered the instructions. "Do not speak if spoken to." The voice came again, closer now. "Hungry. Tell me, which one is you, the meat or the marrow?" Eli walked faster. Then ran. Something thudded against the wall of the house. Then the door creaked, open behind him. He didn't look. He gunned the car and peeled off. Tires skidding in the mud. The trees seemed closer than before. Branches clawed at the windshield. The road stretched, bent, turned back on itself. He drove in circles for nearly an hour, sweat cold on his neck. The air thick with static. Then somehow he found himself back at the house, back at the same step. The food was gone, but something else sat there now. A paper bag. Soggy, leaking dark fluid. Inside was a bone human, fresh, wrapped in a receipt from Fades from La Katrina's, with his name printed at the bottom, and a new note: "You are now the main course." ***. Eli tried to quit the app the next day, deleted it. Factory reset his phone. It didn't matter. The orders kept coming, different addresses. Now. Always in Honey Hollow. Sometimes a barn with no roof. Sometimes a house half sunk into the swamp. Once, a shack with wind chimes made from teeth. Each time. The food appeared in his passenger seat before he even opened the app. Each time, the note got stranger. "Bring salt next time. No eyes. They don't like to be watched. We remember the taste of you." He tried refusing. Once. He stayed home, turned off every device. But when he woke up, there was mud in his bed and a single blood-slicked handprint on his kitchen counter. The next order was already waiting in his car. Asterisk. It got worse. He started seeing things on other routes. Man standing barefoot on the side of the highway at 3 a.m., wearing a burlap sack over his head. A little girl following his car from town to town, never blinking, holding a rotting stuffed rabbit, and always that voice in the trees. "You are marrow. You are sweet. You are ours." His reflection stopped matching him. Mirrors grew foggy when he got near, and the last time he visited his mother, she flinched and said he smelled like wet teeth. Ale doesn't live in Three Pines anymore. He doesn't live anywhere. Really. He drives from town to town, following orders he can't refuse, delivering meals to places that don't exist on maps. And if you see him, sunken eyes, muddy clothes, whispering to himself behind the wheel, don't try to talk to him, because if he looks at you too long, you might become an address. And then one night, the app will ping, and your name will be on the order, wrapped in red twine, stamped with a note: "Special request," fresh and still screaming. It was a Tuesday in mid-July when Cody Parker took the wrong turn that would eventually lead him to the Hollow Men. He was working a double shift for Grub, trying to catch up on payments after his second DUI. His roots took him through all the back roads of East Central Texas, winding two-lane blacktops, half-paved county roads, and dirt trails where the GPS gave up before the tires did. Places with names like Buzzard's Nest, Cross Hollow, or just FM 1666 scratched on rusted signs. He didn't care. Cody was 26, 2 months sober, and one bad break away from losing the beat-up Chevy Colorado that doubled as his bedmost nights. That night, he'd been heading out to deliver a BBQ plate, ribs, brisket, slaw, peach cobbler, to a trailer just outside of Sawmill Ridge. It was the kind of nowhere town where the gas pump still had rolling numbers, and the only working streetlight hung over the sheriff's office. But halfway down County Road 27, his phone chirped. Grub Grub Priority Delivery Address. End of Drift Fence Road. Tip $300. Cash. Notes. Knock once. Wait. Leave food on the porch. No talking. No lights. No questions. Name. The hollow men. He stared at it for a long moment. There was no drift. Fence Road listed anywhere. Not on Google Maps. Not on the printed county atlas he kept under his seat. But the app accepted the address without complaint. And $300 in cash would put gas in the tank, food in his belly, and maybe even a room at the I-10 budget, in where the ampere per Chelsea didn't smell like mildew. He clicked accept, asterisk, asterisk. The first wrong turn was past the old bait shop with a collapsed roof. The next came after he passed an unlit church with boarded windows. That's when the dirt turned to gravel, and the gravel turned to something soft, almost like ash. His tires crunched over it, but it left no marks. The woods thickened around him. Cedar and oak, too close together, limbs arching overhead like knotted fingers. The headlights caught shapes in the fog, fence posts with barbed wire curled like hair, or maybe things pretending to be posts. The temperature dropped. The air felt wet. He should have turned back, but the food smelled warm, and the app said he was close. Then the road simply ended. Not at a house. Not at a clearing. Just stopped. Trees all around. Ground dead silent, except there, ahead, was a house. Or what looked like one. Raised up on stilts, gray wood blackened with mold. No windows, just a door. One narrow porch. A chair. And sitting in the chair, a figure. Tall, thin, dressed in black. No face Cody could see, just a blur like water. Behind glass. Its hands were folded, resting gently in its lap. Cody's heart kicked up. He grabbed the food. Opened the door. The moment his boot touched the ground, the woods went still. Not silent, still. Like the air had stopped breathing. He walked toward the porch. Every step felt watched. The figure never moved. Just sat. He reached the porch. Knocked once, as instructed. The figure shifted, not standing. Not walking. Just shifted. Suddenly it was at the door. The air bent around it like heat. A hand emerged from the sleeve. Pale, wrinkled, fingertips long, too long. And sharp. It took the food. The hand lingered for a moment on Cody's wrist. Too cold. Dry as old paper. Then it pulled back. The figure turned and disappeared into the house. Cody stood there, frozen. Then something moved in the trees. He didn't look. Didn't need to. He turned and ran. Asterisk, asterisk, back in the truck. He tried to make sense of the GPS. There was no road behind him. Just trees. He drove anyway. Followed the curves. He didn't remember taking. Eventually, the woods spat him out near Highway 30, just outside of town. He didn't remember how he got there. Didn't care. But sitting in the passenger seat, next to the empty food bag, was a stack of money. Old bills. Marked and water damaged. And something else. A note. You'll come back. We're still hungry. Asterisk, asterisk. He tried to report it. To the app, to the sheriff, to anyone. Nobody believed him. Or worse, they pretended not to hear. Even the manager at Grub Grub just shrugged. The hollow men tip better than most. You lucky. Cody deleted the app, burned the money, but that night, he woke up in the cab of his truck to scratching on the windshield. Faint. Steady. Like fingernails dragging. In rhythm. He turned on the headlights. There was no one there, but carved into the glass, not scratched, carved, were the words, "We know you now." Asterisk, asterisk. The next week, orders started showing up again.
Even without the app, food would just appear in his passenger seat. Hot, fresh, always. With a note, 3 rib plates, no sauce. Don't forget the cornbread this time. Come before moonrise. If he ignored them, things got worse. One night he found his tires slashed, not with a knife, but with something serrated, like teeth. Another time, he woke up with a mouthful of dirt and pine needles, 20 miles from where he fell asleep. Once, he opened the glove box and found a photograph of himself asleep in his truck, taken from outside the window. He started delivering again. He had no choice. Every night, a new house, a new order, a new set of rules, and every night they watched, sometimes from the trees. Sometimes from the road. Once from the rearview mirror, not sitting in the back seat, but inside the mirror itself, smiling with a mouth full of black needles. He never spoke, never knocked more than once, never looked through the windows, but he's not sure how much longer. He can keep going, because the last order wasn't food. It was a name, his mother's, and the note said, "She smells like marrow. Bring her while she's warm," and the worst part? The food was already in the seat next to him, still steaming, still breathing.